Welcome to Locality's Making Bank podcast, where we continue our exploration of South Florida's entrepreneurial landscape with host Keith Costello, co-founder and CEO of Locality Bank. Sit back, relax, and let South Florida visionaries guide you on an entrepreneurial journey from tribulation to triumph, sharing the very stories that have shaped them.
So, Basil Bernard, welcome to Locality Bank's Making Bank podcast.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Well, we really appreciate you coming by today. We tell the stories of different entrepreneurs, and we really find all those stories really fascinating. And I know you through the Broward Alliance Entrepreneurship Council, so that's a great way to meet other entrepreneurs, when we're in there in that group. So really, we kind of start out about your original story, where you're from, how you grew up, because I find that talking with a lot of entrepreneurs, it's interesting to me because somewhere comes this drive. And a lot of times it's from their childhood or how they grew up. So tell me about how you grew up and where.
Yeah, grew up in Jamaica in the West Indies, which was great. The 70s was a great time to be a teenager, and that was my time. We grew up middle class to upper middle class, so no drama there. But Jamaica was particularly safe at that point in time. Mm-hmm. A middle class to upper middle class life there was truly charming. You were able to go anywhere you wanted to. It was parallel to the United States, and you got to really enjoy the Motown sound, and strange enough, a lot of the rock and roll type tunes that you would groove to as well.
Sure.
It was just a very parallel type economy.
And was it an entrepreneurial family, or did you get involved in any businesses when you were young?
Well, all right. My first touch with entrepreneurship, and then I'll touch back and give you more of the beginning, was people would go to the States and buy the nice Flag Brother shoes, platform shoes. You remember the platform shoes days? Uh-huh. Bad idea, but nonetheless, everybody liked those platform shoes and so on. And what I would do is people would compliment me on the shoes and I'd sell them.
Okay.
And buy a new one or two.
Yeah.
And I said, I really like buying and selling stuff. I mean, I didn't get into a business at the time, but I knew I liked the rush of making a sale.
Yeah.
So I think at heart, I will tell most people that I'm a salesman at heart that happens to own a business. So back to the whole growing up stage,
sure,
where it started and all that. I went to Catholic school.
Okay.
Not Catholics, but, went to Catholic school, which was interesting. But it always is a good foundation, because there's that, discipline that's there and so on. And that was great. And then I went to what you'd call a good prep school here. It was called Jamaica College, and really enjoyed that. Got a scholarship to go there because, believe it or not, back then I was a good student. So that made a huge difference because now you're in the environment with the middle to elite of the country. And even though you're boys and rambunctious and all that, it's still that boys being boys things, but you're in the environment where you learn things that you normally would not see, especially in a small country like ours. Things that were upscale, and you felt as if the sky was the limit. You didn't have that inhibition or felt bridles that you can't go here or you can't go here. And prejudice was not as it is here in the United States. There was some, the shade of your skin did make a difference sometimes. Lighter skinned people did get, and we had a lot of influences from Asia, India, Lebanon, it was one of those places for some strange reason that many people from all over, even though it's a small country, came to be free and have a good life. It's very odd, but that's how it went. Because if you notice now, if you've been there and you see the tourist product that they have in Jamaica, it's craved, and most people have it on their bucket list to go to Jamaica.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Yeah, it's a beautiful place, and they've done a very good job at it. So after high school, I didn't do as well as I should have. And I had to, what you'd call, repeat a form.
Okay.
Do it over again. And I remember one particular day, I was walking along, and free class, nothing to do, just hanging out. And I'd heard about this class called Commerce. And with the British system, you have to do the classes for like about 3 years in order to get to take the Cambridge exam, which was along the British lines. Mm-hmm. So I'd heard about Commerce and went to the teacher and said, "May I sit in on your class?" And he said, "Sure, why not? Just sometimes if you ask," that's why I'm a salesman, sometimes you get. And he said, "Yeah, come on, sit down in." And I heard him talking about insurance and shipping and trade and all that. And I could just feel myself saying, "Whoa, somebody's talking this language that I knew had to be there. This is my calling. I got to do this." And I came out of the class really particularly inspired. So I went to the assistant principal and said, "I'd like to take the exam for that subject." He said, "No, you can't do that. It's a 3-year course." I said, "Well, how much does it cost?" And he said, "Well, you got to talk to your parents." And, long story short, they let me take the exam, and I managed to eke out a pass.
Okay.
So that was, my getting into business. I just knew all of a sudden that was my calling. I'm an only child. My mom and my dad were good parents. In retrospect, I don't think they were ideal for each other because my dad was a very gregarious person and my mother was this quiet church lady. And
you take after your dad, obviously.
Yeah, I tend to. But my mom inspired me in some ways that were unique. And later on, I guess I'll get into one thing she told me one day. She said, "I'm a simple person. It doesn't take much to make me happy." And she was having a pastry that she had said, "Let's go by the pastry shop." And it was a tiring Friday evening, but she said, I'm just that simple person, but it doesn't take much to make me happy, but I believe in being happy. And she said, "Don't drive off yet. Let's just sit here and enjoy the pastry." And for some strange reason, it just resonated in me because this was right during the recession and things were really tight. But just that tap on the shoulder saying, "Hey, take a breath, enjoy, be in the moment," changed my life completely.
That's beautiful.
So that's my mother in a nutshell. I mean, There are many more stories, but I had to go forward to say how she was. She's the type of person that will give you that opportunity to stop and look. My dad, on the other hand, he was this gregarious guy. He would try anything. He had different careers, but he had this warm personality that I remember even at his funeral, so many younger guys would come up to me and say, "I don't know if you know, but your father was like a dad to me." I said, "Really?" And they're thinking that this is their unique story, but he was just that type of guy. So I guess, it made me understand how fortunate I was to have had the parents that I did have, because they made me feel as if nothing was impossible.
That's awesome.
I felt like, whatever you want to do, you can do.
Yeah, that's a great story. And you're fortunate to have had such great parents, it sounds like. So then But you left Jamaica?
Yes.
And came to New York, I guess, right?
Went to New York. And my intent was to do marketing and advertising and go to school and do that. But life gets in the way. And my wife and I, we just had one kid, so that changed life. So I think it's important to back up a bit and say that while I was, after passing the commerce subject that I told you about, I went to what would be the equivalent of a community college here.
Yeah.
And I saw this young lady. Hit me like a ton of bricks. Yeah. And I just knew that she was the one. And pretty much like a fairy tale.
Wow.
We met, hit it off, and we've been together ever since. Her name is Marlene. We have one son, Andre Sean. He is in the business with us, but there's no doubt in the fact that I would not have been successful were it not for her. Because as a salesperson, you can always make money, but what happens and how the money is kept is the difference between success and utter disaster. And
that is time out. That's great advice to anybody listening. That's such good advice. I mean, who you choose as a partner to marry is such a critical choice. So, I mean, you're very fortunate. How many years have you been married?
We got married in 1976, so you do the math. No, not married. We met in 1976, got married in 1981. Yeah, but it's as if from when we met.
So it's almost 50 years you've been together.
Just,
wow.
Yeah, it was just one of those things that just...
Well, congratulations on that.
And I don't take it for granted. I don't take her for granted. I know that she made me a better person, made my life wonderful.
And then you had a child. You were in New York.
We moved to New York.
And so you go to work.
My first good job was with New York Telephone, AT&T, before they broke up into the MCI and Sprint and so on.
Right.
And I was there when they had the first fax machine, that type of thing, when they started the divestiture, breaking up into the three companies. So it was a very dynamic time. Many things were happening. The cell phone was just invented. And I was at a company that was right at the heart of it.
Yeah.
It was Marble, you know. I was in the installation department, but on the admin side. And they were splitting the department that I was in into two sub-departments. So that was good timing because the staffing was short, so I got to make a lot of overtime, save some money, and we were putting away as much as we could. And I had to meet my dad down in Florida on business.
Okay.
So I get off the plane in November, sweater, everything, just normal winter. I get off the plane and everybody's in a short sleeve shirt. And my buddy who was supposed to pick me up, I had to wait for a bit. And I'm seeing everybody driving around in their cars against public transportation. And I'm saying, I could get used to this, So just all of that. And when I came back up to New York, I said to my wife, this is now early December. And I said to her, what do you think about moving to Florida? One word, when? That's it. Wow. She was ready because she didn't do well with winter at all. She just did not like the cold weather.
Yeah.
So it made her miserable. I mean, every winter of the few winters that she was there, she spent as much time as possible in Jamaica for Christmas and beyond. So this was the November. By the June, we were down here in Florida trying to see what we could do. We had a couple of dollars saved up, about $10,000 saved up. And that was either going to be a down payment on a house or we were going to pie in the sky, start a business.
Yeah.
So we had no clue. And I saw a buddy of mine and went by his house one evening, and he used to be a senior sales executive for Xerox. And we were chatting, and there was a power cut. So we're, outside just hanging out. And he said to me, or the conversation went to, you ever thought of starting your own business? And I said, yeah, sure. I'd really like to do something. I don't know what. So I said, well, Marlene cooks real well, so let's do a restaurant like everybody else. Let's do a restaurant. Fortunately, he was one of those newspaper readers. So he said, well, I've heard of this organization called SCORE. And, they have meetings where they give you pointers on how to start your own business and how to go about it. Maybe we should go to a SCORE meeting. So went to the SCORE meeting, and they put you off in groups. And they say, as usual, the restaurant group is the biggest one. So they had you do some notes and so on. And one of the things was your experience, your working experience and your likes and so on. And we had no restaurant experience,
right,
or anything. So they said, all right, all these here, you have no restaurant experience. You're going to lose your money. Don't do it. So I said, how dare this guy tell me that I'm going to lose my money? So I went away, disgruntled and upset, thinking that this guy is saying to me that I have no chance of success. He doesn't know me. How dare he? But I always had the ability to say, but why did they say that? And I said to myself, there must be a good reason. So I started doing some research and found out, the statistics tell you, if you have no experience, it's going to be difficult. In the meeting, one of the things he had said, though, he said, I'll explain to you why you're going to fail. If you want to have a pound of, what do they call it? Corned beef, how much would you buy? So I said, some fat, a pound and a quarter. I'm a bright guy. He says, well, half of the weight of corned beef is in water. You understand why I tell you you'll fail now? So I started thinking, he was right. So he says, the best thing for you to do is look at your skill sets. And he pointed out the fact that we were a group, meaning my friend and his wife, Greg, and his wife, Stacy, and myself and Marlene. And he says, well, you can leverage that to move forward. And we got to looking, and at that point in time, business support services were, getting to be very, very important. And we thought we would start selling, long story short, office supplies. Mm-hmm. And we made a couple of good moves, and a couple of weird things happened. Like, for example, Office Depot started the same year that we put a store in. And this Office Depot's second store was right down the road from us.
Oh, no.
So that normally would be the kiss of death. But at that point in time, people still liked the mom and pop type business. So they kept coming back. And then I'd remembered that thing, the fax machine. And I said, let me try something here. What if we delivered and all they had to do was send in their list and we delivered the next day? Took off. And that's how we got started. And
did you partner? So you partnered up with this other couple?
Oh, yeah.
And you put your resources together. And did you end up buying a building, or were you just renting a building?
We were just renting for a long period of time.
Yeah.
This was, 86, 87. And things happened really quickly because we were in a retail joint and realized that we didn't need retail because the majority of our business was coming in over the phone. So we said, well, let's try to get out of the lease. And I said to the landlord, look, if I stay here, I'm going to die. Why don't you just take my deposit and let me get out of the lease, and at least I might survive? Because if I stay here, we're just going to die.
Yeah.
And the lady looked at me and called up her boss, and they let me out of the lease.
Oh, that's great.
So we rented some warehouse space, and I just had this salesperson mentality. If the phone's not ringing, go out and knock on doors. Mm-hmm. And that's what we did. And we built the business and did some innovative things, like we had a laundry list of supplies, like the copy paper, the pens, so on and so forth. And you just check off, put your quantity, fax it in, and we'll deliver.
Wow.
It worked out well.
And so, and that was, that's like 30, almost 40 years ago that you started.
Yeah. And we grew so fast that we were voted number one small business in the South Florida area.
Wow.
And among those, they had to choose the smaller set of small business for the nation. Uh-huh. We got voted number one. So, dumb luck again, and wow. We were rated number one small business story. And we got invited to the White House.
Wow.
To meet. President Bush was there at the time. It's just sometimes.
It's incredible.
You take your shot, kind of works out. So we didn't buy the house with the $10,000, but we bought a business that bought the house eventually.
So have you and we're a bank, so I'm just curious, did you get financing from banks, or did you just self-finance, or how did you?
Yeah.
You got some financing from a bank?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
In the beginning, we realized that we would need good capital.
Yeah.
My buddy, Greg, and his wife, they had $10,000 saved up as well.
Yeah.
So that wasn't going to make it happen. So I walked into what was then Barnett Bank.
Yeah.
You remember Barnett
Sure.
Bank, right? They were the big dog in town at the time. And I don't know who to even ask for or what to ask for. So I said, let me sit here and look and observe. So I'm in the lobby of the big Miami Lakes branch that they had, and I'm just watching. And there was this one lady that everybody seemed to have a good experience with. They were always smiling, so on and so forth. But from what I gathered, she was a residential home lender.
Okay.
But I said, at least she should know who would be the right person. And in conversation, I'll be a little bit more intelligent to speak to the commercial lending person. Mm-hmm. So I went over and, again, gracious lady. And she said, you're just in luck. We just hired a guy who used to work for the SBA. Not kidding you. This is his first week. And I don't know if he's even, set up in his office yet, but he's upstairs and, maybe you should talk to him. He might be able to give you some pointers. Never forget his name, Richard Warburg. Now, he and I have nothing in common. This stout Jewish guy and very gruff and, young guy though. And he's telling me, I said, well, you got to understand, if you start a small business, it's like a baby. You've got to take care of it 24/7. Are you ready for the challenge? And I said, yeah. And the guy gave us a shot. Lent us $30,000. So he said, but remember now, you need to be very judicious with the money. And you need to have a business plan and bring me that business plan, show it to me, so on and so forth. So we did all of that and we stuck to the plan. And it just one of those things. So
that's great. That's a great story. I'm glad to hear that
difference.
An SBA loan, because, we do SBA lending and we help so many businesses with that, because it puts a lot of people in business.
Yep.
And
gives you that chance.
That's great. Mm-hmm. So what are your future plans? Now you are Your son is in the business.
Right.
Will he take over the business? Are you going to retire at any point? Or are you going to keep working?
Well, retiring, yeah, that's a difficult question. But I do want to take a step back and have him, run the business and probably make me his salesperson, or rainmaker.
You're a pretty good salesman.
I think he would do well. I tell him all the time, it's not how you want it to be. Your customers are very, very important, and you need to make sure that what they're looking for is what you're selling. So don't go to the North Pole to sell ice. Always look for the opportunity where your product is needed or where there's a sympathetic audience. Otherwise, you're spinning your wheels and you're not going to have the success that you really want to have.
That's good advice. What, did you face any major obstacles as you were in your last 38 years of business?
Yeah, I would say...
Tell us about one that was hard to overcome.
Yeah, the hardest one to overcome was the recession, the Great Recession.
2008, 2009,
Yeah. We lost probably 60% of our volume in a real quick way. I mean, it just kept going like this. I mean, it wasn't the disaster, but it was how unpredictable and how relentless the drop-off of business was.
Yeah.
You just couldn't control it. We had just bought 20,000 square feet worth of warehouse space. And we were looking to really make that expansion.
Yeah.
And here it is. Your bank is denying you cash. I mean, I remember, just our luck. So sometimes luck is good and good and bad.
Right.
Our major credit line was with Shearson Lehman. Of all the banks, a company in South Florida, and they had an SBA-backed loan for us. And it was just that bank. And we lost all our funding. I remember one particular day, we had one of our suppliers that we had to pay a bill with. And I'm driving down to Coral Gables to see a customer. So on the way down, the bank, the supplier calls me up and said, we're going to send through that invoice for, I think it was $100 and some odd $1,000. Just business as usual. So I called the bank up and said, hey, I have a payment coming through. Be ready to take it. Oh, yes, Mr. Bernard, no problem. So on and so forth. And 5 minutes after, I'm still driving down to Coral Gables. The supplier called me up and said, hey, they denied payment on your thing. I said, that can't be. I just talked to the bank. I called the bank, and the bank said, well, since you had called in, we reevaluated your credit, and your $220,000 credit line is now $22,000.
Oh.
What am I supposed to do?
Yeah.
That was a very difficult moment. So I had to figure out a plan of action to first stop the bleeding and then find a direction to go and try to save as many jobs as possible. Because one of the things that I never ever took for granted is that the teammates that we hired over time were the major reason for our success. Never took that for granted. So my goal was to get them as many jobs as possible. So we went into a strategic alignment with one of our friendly competitors and divested ourselves of the office supply side of it, saved a lot of jobs. And my plan was to move on with the office furniture, came up with a plan of action, and one of my buddies that was, he was one of the owners, the partners with Tatum, big major company.
Yeah.
But, he and I were political opposites, but we had a good time chatting and stuff because it was always respectful, because he was staunch right and I was more on the left side, even though I was an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
I tend to be sometimes very left in my thinking, but I'm a strident business entrepreneur.
Sure.
So we always were on similar boards and so on. So I said, hey, I need some advice, So he said, all right, write something up. So I said, I can't afford your prices because these guys are making like $1,000 an hour. He said, don't worry about it. I'm going to send you one of my best guys. Just buy him lunch. And, I mentioned that, and I won't mention his name because I didn't have permission to mention his name, but I mentioned that because I think that people don't understand what honest dialogue does in terms of making trust, and trust is the foundation for business or successful business that I've found over the years.
Yeah.
And that makes that huge difference. And, with that plan of action, we saved a lot of jobs. And here we are again. We did so well with the office furniture that we've done some significant deals.
Yeah.
And, I'm almost out of the woods.
Oh, excellent. Well, it's a great story, and we appreciate you sharing with us. And I'd like to ask you now, we do a little lightning round where we ask you some quick questions just to finish off today. But first, let me ask you, so if people want to get a hold of you, Basil, how can they contact you? What is your website or your email?
Apricot Office Interiors. You'll find me easy, real easy.
Excellent.
Because we have a nice website, www.apricotos.com. But just look for Apricot, and that will lead you to Apricot Office Interiors.
Excellent. Okay, thank you. So what is your favorite book?
Thornbirds. Don't ask me why. But I enjoyed it, and I'm not a big reader. I'm a listener. Mm-hmm. So I've always been an auditory. I got through my master's by listening to notes and being able to sell anything that I could remember.
Good. Is there, you're coming from Jamaica, so you have a song that you remember from your youth that's like your main song?
Yeah, all right. I've always been that contradiction in that I believe in commerce and love commerce, but I always, sought out equality. So I don't know if I'm sure you know Bob Marley, but he has this song, War, and it's based upon a speech, and it says, until the philosophy that makes one man inferior and another inferior, and it goes on and on and on.
Yeah.
But it makes that big difference, and it's one of those uniting things, And so that's one of my favorite songs.
That's a great song.
Yeah, it's a nice.
I know it. Yeah. What's the best piece of advice you ever received?
Be honest.
That's
kind of simple.
That's good. If you could have dinner with anyone living or dead, who would that be?
Oh, wow. Two close ones. And one is Bill Clinton and one is Barack Obama.
Wow. Interesting.
Mm-hmm. And I've met both.
Okay.
But I was torn with Obama, where Prescott, owner of the Biltmore, he was walking toward me, and this upstart Barack Obama was walking on this side. So Obama thinks I'm going to shake his hand, but I was going to shake Jim's hand. So I ended up not meeting Obama, but I've been in the same room. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
What's your favorite local restaurant?
All right. Nothing particularly interesting there, but Morton's and Capitol Grill, those are two of my favorites. And there's this Jamaican food chain called Donna's.
Okay.
You can check them out if you ever.
That's what I was hoping to get, like the Jamaican inside.
Yeah.
Info.
Some good curry chicken or jerk chicken. Yeah, they're a good spot.
What's something you're grateful for?
Oh, family, without a doubt.
And that
wife.
wonderful wife of yours,
my
huh?
wife, yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Do you have somewhere that you'd like to travel to that you haven't been to yet?
Yeah. I want to go to Africa. I want to go to Tokyo. I want to go to Australia. And we're supposed to go to Portugal this year.
Sounds like you need to put your son in charge and do some traveling.
Absolutely. Tell him that I am not coming in tomorrow.
What's a fear that you have overcome?
Injections. I hate going to the dentist, but not a big deal, mind you. But yeah.
You got to get over that one to go to the dentist.
Yeah.
What do you do to stay healthy? Like your hobbies?
Walk.
You like to walk?
We live in Plantation, so Plantation has some good parks and
That's
so on.
excellent. You walk with your wife?
Yeah.
Oh, that's great.
And a couple other friends too. Yeah, a retired judge friend of ours, and paralegal, and my wife, and one other person. But it
sounds like a parade.
Yeah, it's fun. It's fun. Yeah.
Well, listen, we appreciate you joining our podcast and sharing you've had a great success story, and I didn't know that you were selected as the small business of the United States, like one of to meet the president.
We're very fortunate. Yeah.
That's honorable. That's impressive.
It was wonderful. It was wonderful. Going to the White House was something else. Yeah.
Well, thank you very much for joining us today.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
My pleasure.
All right.
Thanks.
Thank you. Good job.
Thanks for tuning in to Locality's Making Bank podcast. Be sure to subscribe on your favorite podcast platform to catch the latest episodes, and visit localitybank.com today to learn more about all the benefits of banking local.